Hello from Southern Ontario. It's October 30th here in Canada. Excuse me. So I wanted to look into carbon sequestering, carbon capture, carbon storage. Sequestering is a nice fancy word, right? Anyways, I wanted to see if it was as asinine as what I thought it was. Well, indeed it is. I'll be brief though. We'll just skim through this. Alberta has 6 carbon capturing gigs going. Saskatchewan has 4, and there's 4 more planned over the next 5 years, though I didn't dive into where they're going to be. But Estevan, Saskatchewan, carbon or coal-fired generating plant there, and I think it was 1.4 billion to start it up, the carbon capturing at that plant. Which was $1,000 a head for every Saskatchewanian, every taxpayer in Saskatchewan. Well, it'd be more per taxpayer, but anyways, whatever, I digress. The objective was to capture 1 million tons annually. Now, I didn't get into the details. It turned into a boondoggle. They've poured millions more in, blah, blah, blah. Typical government boondoggle bullshit, right? Although I guess it's a private company, but whatever. The government pays them, yeah, so well, the taxpayer. So anyways, you go to carbon capture and carbon sequestering, they'll say, oh, they captured 90% of it. Well, that's kind of like the efficacy of the kajibs, right? No, it's not that at all. After you factor in the energy used, they admit it's about 10 or 11% efficiency. Again, after the energy used. They compress the carbon after using some nasty chemicals and stuff often. Depends where they're extracting it from, right? But we're not going to go down into this rabbit hole. They compress it, liquefy it, and then they store it underground. Again, at first glance, it says they use it for basically what's fracking to pump out the oil using the liquefied carbon. But most of it really, and seemingly in Estevan, they just pump it into the ground. Like they don't build a tank or anything, they just pump it down into the crevices of the earth. So I see where the Canadian government is just, giving a dude 1.5 million. He's going to study to see if it might contribute to seismic activity. What else do we have an issue with? Oh yes, displacement of groundwater. They're pumping liquid into the ground. This is where the energy goes, right? You have to chill and compress carbon to turn it into a fluid. Yeah, okay. Now, here's where it really gets stupid, and this is what I thought all along, and it turns out it's so indeed. When it escapes, because it will. It's not just going to sit down there. It doesn't want to stay liquid. It wants to revert back to a gaseous gas. Mother Nature has her rules, right? So it will inevitably escape. And I mean, it is inevitable, period, right? So what are you going to do? Get Paul Bunyan to come out with a cork and take the big head of his axe and poke it in the hole where the carbon's now is turning gaseous? Not going to happen, right? There's going to be a disaster at each and every one of these sequestering, call it a tank. They just pump it into the ground. It's going to want to come back out, and it will. And carbon dioxide isn't deadly. Well, it is deadly. What I meant to say is it's not poisonous, it's deadly. It's heavier than air. So it's going to come up from where they've sequestered it, puddle on the ground, one breath of it, you're out cold. Like one, poof, whack, that's it. There's no, it's not like mustard gas, you put a wet hanky over your face and try to crawl away and escape it. No, one breath, you're out cold, you're down. Deprived of oxygen, totally lying in a puddle of carbon, and that's it. It's deadly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is really good thinking. So I forget how many while they were headed for 1 million tons annually. So I'm not sure what they got pumped in the ground in Estevan there. I did see it, but then I couldn't find it again. I didn't take a note. But anyways, when that stuff comes up in its gaseous form, how huge of an area is it going to kill man and beast alike? The only thing left alive will be the plants. They'll be rocking. Yeah, okay. So, what are we spending annually in Canada then to build deadly underground ponds of liquid carbon? And, like, even the basic concept of storing it. It's going to come back someday, isn't it? Like, ugh. Okay, I'll just leave the video here. So yeah, I don't know if you live around any of these storage units. Well, I don't know if you want to live around one of them. You know,